Well, good evening, good evening, good evening. Of course, this evening it is Friday night, and we are live on the Purposeful Personal Productivity Show. I said it a little backwards, but glad to have everybody in the house tonight. And I see folks are joining in. I am so excited to be here with you all. It is Friday night, 6:30, and tonight we're going to talk about how to organize your brain dump. We've been talking about having brain dumps and how important it is to get information that we're thinking in our minds out of our minds and into something that we can look at and do something with. Well, then what are you going to do with it? How do you organize it? How do you make it work for you? How do you get the friction of having all this stuff out in whatever tool you use? I'm going to kind of pick on a little bit, but let's say you use Google Docs and you just got a long list. What do you do with it? That's what we're going to answer tonight. My name is Florence Donald, and I am here with Personal and Purposeful Productivity. Excited to have you all in the house with us. We're here every Friday night, and we're on week 4, y'all. We're coming out of the locker room. We've been in the locker room working. We're now putting it out for you to learn from, for you to share with us. I'm excited. I want to say good evening to a couple of folks this evening real quick and have you guys know who's joining us in the room. And so one of them, of course, is I love starting with this gentleman because he's so impactful to me. But I'm starting with Mr. Walter Strong. He's trying to get me to call him Walter. So Walter, good evening. Starting with you, it is surely an exciting time for another productivity class. So thank you. We're also here with Tech Troublemaker this evening. I heard you say I need to fix you. I'm trying to fix myself. Just saying, Roy, I'm still trying to fix myself. So thank you. My best friend in the world. I wouldn't be anywhere without him, Frank Jackson. And I know you're on travel, sir. Go take care of your family. Get off of here. We'll talk later. Love you much. And we have none other than Joshua Ewell here. And thank you for sharing my 1-month anniversary. So we're going to get right into the content today because I want you to really focus on what you need to do to organize your productivity. And so that's what we're going to talk about. The first thing, y'all know I like steps. I like an organized process. The first step is making a decision about a frequency. How often are you going to execute on what we're going to talk about? Because if you haven't decided how often you're going to execute, then figuring out what to do is kind of pointless. It will either, you won't do it enough, you won't do it at all, you'll do it too much, and then you'll just get frustrated because it'll feel like you're a hamster on a wheel. You're just running around in a circle, getting nowhere. So for you, depending on how much it is you're brain dumping and how often you're brain dumping, you decide, am I going to go through this organization daily? Am I going to go through it weekly? Am I going to go through it every 2 weeks? I'll give you some rules of thumb. If you do a lot of brain dumping every day because you've got lots of parts to your life, of course, we know we've got business, we've got home, we've got our health, we've got our family, we've got our business, we've got volunteer work we're doing. And if all of that is coming at you and you're brain dumping it every day, then it may be worth it to go through the organization process every day. If you're not doing brain dumping every day, then don't go through the organization every day. I shared with you all last week that I did 4 pages based on having a very, very full day. So sometimes it's not every day, but sometimes you just got enough that came at you that day, enough meetings, enough calls, enough text messages, enough chat messages, enough comments that came in, enough questions that you got, that it's just going to be a lot. And when I say a lot, I mean pages. pages of ideas and thoughts and concepts and questions and people, then it would be worth it to do daily. If it's not that much, thank you so much, Roy. Yes, hit the like button. If it's not that much, maybe once a week when you look at what your week has been like, to organize your brain dump then. So make the decision how frequently you're going to go through this exercise. And I'm going to give you a tip a little bit later how I do that. The next thing, now you've said how often. Now we get into the organization part. We're going to move swiftly today. Figure out your categories. When you think about all of the stuff, how do you think about it? Do you think in terms of where I am? That's context, or what I need. Am I at home, or am I in the car? Am I at the office? Am I online? Am I in the kitchen? Am I in the grocery store? That's context, where you are. Or context can be what you need. Do I need a certain piece of software? Do I need my phone? Do I need my computer? Do I need to be in the browser? Do I need to be on YouTube, y'all? Wherever it is, that context, if you think of all the stuff in terms of context, then organize it. Make a list of all of those things, all of those places, all of that software, and organize. I use context, but I also mix it a little with project. I use context a lot because for me, if I'm working in, say, Microsoft Project, I want to do everything in Microsoft Project that I need to get done before I come out of the software, because once I come out of it, I don't want to have to go back in. The other way I think about it is a big one, of course, for everyone, no matter what you have, no matter what you do, or how your life organizes, is errands. If I have to do things and go places outside of the home, I'll organize everything that has to be done outside of my home together so I can hit it, and then I plan it. If you think in terms of projects, I've got this kind of project, that kind of project. A great project is if you're a content creator, and specifically if you're on YouTube, every episode, every video is its own project. Maybe you're thinking about in terms of the project that you're working with. And if you are, then add projects as a category. Now, some of us think in terms of energy. Is it a high energy activity that I have to be concerned about? Is it, what I call my brain dead? I can't think, I can't focus. I need to get some stuff, and my energy level is not at the highest. Or if I'm a morning person or evening person, I have a girlfriend. She is as nocturnal as they can be. At 2:00 in the morning, it's like 6:00 in the morning for her. She is a total night owl. So her high energy is when most everybody else is sleeping. So if you work on your energy level, that's another way to categorize. So think of what your categories are. This can be really revolutionary. It's not just a whole bunch of stuff. It's how do I think about it? What makes sense to me? So that is the next thing that you want to think about. And I've got some folks who are sharing some things. I want to take a quick pause here and say, if you're liking the content, if you're getting value, if this is making sense, hit the like button. Just let us know. Put a comment in. And I want to go back and just say hello to someone else who joined us. Anne-Marie Walker joined us. I know who she is. Thank you for joining us this evening. I want you to get some value today. And then I find this comment interesting. Content, video, visuals, promotion, just the planning is a project. And then this is another good one. Walter says, I find sometimes for me, taking a walk in the local park in a quiet area helps me to do some brain dumping. Absolutely. And if that's a great time when you could use your phone, right? You could talk into your phone and just get it out and just have some meditation time, so to speak. So those are all great. Now you've got the brain dump. You want to start thinking about and have a plan or a list of categories, however you think about information. We're not even talking about what the information is yet, but just how you categorize it is so critical. Then once you have the categories and you've got the list, now the work begins. Clarifying what all that stuff is. It can be a whole bunch. When I brain dump, sometimes it's one word. Example. I can just say something like letter or my sister. But what is it about, if I just put my sister's name down, what is it about my sister? Is it an action? Is it a project? Is it something I need to delegate? Is it just information that I collected that I need to keep in my archive or reference system? That's the clarification. It's going through all of those line items and deciding, what is this thing? And sometimes you may have to dig a little deep to figure out what it is. But that's the next big thing, because what you put in your brain dump may not be actually what you need to take action on. Sometimes it is, oftentimes it is not. Oh my goodness. We're going to come back to that. Y'all not going to distract me tonight, but let me just say, chat is hopping tonight, and I am so excited because y'all know I like a conversation. I don't like a monologue. So talk back to me. And what I'm going to do is ask you, think about now, how often, and put it in chat, if you're with the live tribe tonight, how often do you think you want to organize your brain dump? Then, if you're with the live tribe, or with the replay crew, because some of you all are not here. You're feeding children, you're working out, you're still working, you're planning, and some of you all may be doing your own content creation right now. You may be serving a client. But go ahead when you do get back to this and share in the comment, what are some of the categories you want to include? What makes sense to you? How do you think about the information? Then think about and plan for how you want to clarify those items. If you had a list of 10 things you put down in your Google Doc, what are they? Are they things you need to think about? That's incubate. I need to give this some more thought. I'm not ready to take any action on it. I'm not ready. It's not a project yet. I'm not sure what it is. It's just going to sit over here and stew and cook for a little while. The next one is, think about, is this something on my list that I need to delegate to somebody? Maybe I ask a family member to help. Y'all know, my best friend and my brother, they get a lot of this. I ask them to do stuff all the time. So it's okay to delegate, but be mindful and know that that's what you're doing. Is it a project? Because if it's a project, you need to spend a little bit more time with it. Or is it just reference material that you want to hold on to, and if one day you need it, you can come back to it? That's the clarification part. And then you're going to take your actions and put them into your action tracker. Everything else is going to go someplace else. So those are the 3 steps. They're very simple tonight. Very simple. Frequency, categories, and clarifying. It is just that simple. I don't make it hard, because when you make it hard, you introduce friction. And I'm going to keep talking about friction. If you have any point of friction, your system is going to fall apart quickly. You're going to fall off the tracks. You're not going to be able to keep going. So whatever you use, remove whatever points of friction you have in your system. Goes back to a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to challenge y'all. So I'm going to just ask you all. We talked about doing an assessment. If you've done your assessment, put yes in the chat. If you've done your assessment, we talked about a couple of weeks ago, so you thought I forgot. I ain't forget. If you did your assessment, put yes in the chat, because I want to know that what we're sharing and what we're discussing is actually helping you, and you're using it, not just hearing it. You're actually applying it, because that's where the rubber meets the road, and that's where the elevation come in. So while I'm giving you an opportunity to put yes in the chat, we got a couple of other people. Gwen, thank you for joining us this evening. So happy to see you here. And Louise, all the way from South Carolina, thank you. And you're saying yes, you did your assessment. Frank, you said you agree, and I'm going to get you if you don't get off here, because I know what you're doing. So, and Gwen, you made your assessment. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So glad that you were able to get there, that you did your assessment. So that's where you start. And then you're brain dumping and you're moving forward. Very simple tonight, quite easy to do. I will share, I'm going to use the Google Docs example. What I would do if I were doing this, I would just put the categories in my document, and I would move all of those items into each of the categories inside the Google Doc. I wouldn't make it any more complex than that. If I had 3 categories, content creation, home project number 1, health and errands, I would just literally move everything onto one of those categories, bold it, underline it, italicize it, whatever you do, make the font bigger for the category header, just to get it organized, and then start clarifying. And it's okay to rename or type a different name for whatever the item is that you put in your brain dump list. That's really the sum of it all. So we can get right to summarizing, and I'm going to ask you to consider some questions and answer these, and I would love to have you answer them in the chat. And if you're on the replay crew, go ahead and leave a comment. Now, frequency. Do you reserve time in your calendar? Last week we talked about making your calendar work for you. This is one of those times where your calendar can truly work for you. I have a block of time in my calendar every week. I call it my weekly review. But every day I have a planning in solitude, just 10-15 minutes every day, 7 days a week. And it is actually in my calendar. I had somebody laugh at me because they saw my calendar and they said, "You literally put that in your calendar every day." Yes, I put my prayer time in my calendar every day. I put my planning and solitude time in my calendar every day. Why? I have the exact same amount of time that you have, 24 hours. No more, no less. Doesn't matter who you are, how much money you have, how much money you don't have, how big your family is, how small your family is, how much work you have to do, how much work you don't have to do. You absolutely have the exact same amount of time every day that anyone else has. It's how you use it that makes the difference. So do you reserve that time? If it's daily, put it in your calendar. If it's weekly, put it in your calendar. If it's every 2 weeks, put it in your calendar. Then, how do you think? We've talked about this a lot, but really consider how you think about information and categorize it. Professionally, I think in projects, but I also think in context. So I make those 2 items, projects and context, work for me, the way I categorize my brain dump. So that one. And the last one is clarifying. Ask yourself, what is this that I've written here, and what does it mean to me? What does it mean to you? Just ask yourself those simple questions and answer them. Answer them. I want to come back to something that somebody put on the screen because I want to answer this. And it's kind of a question without being a question. Making a list and checking it twice. I forgot I made the list. Well, that gets into something we talked last week about, 2 weeks ago, about knowing where you're putting all your stuff. Having a place where you always go and you have your information, you have your list, and it's always in the same place, it's always the same way, and you trust it because you're not putting it in 5 different places and don't remember which place you put it in. Brain dumping is great to put it in different places, but when you actually want to start working with it, have a place that you trust and that your mind will trust. Really, what we're doing is freeing our mind, because when our mind can be creative, then the routine, mundane things get taken care of without our mind trying to take it back, without trying to hold on to it, without trying to remember. You don't have to. You don't need to. And I would submit it's ineffective to operate that way. Put it someplace. If it's a Google Doc, if it's an Excel spreadsheet, if it's a notepad, if it's an application, a task management application, if it's a project management application, make your tool something that you will absolutely trust. And you will always go there. It's different for each of us. But whatever it is, lean on it, rely on it, and make it work for you. So I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to talk back to me this evening. We've got a little bit of extra time. And so share with me one thing you're going to do from the information we shared this week. Go ahead, chat in the chat. What are you going to change? What is something you're going to do to apply what we've talked about tonight? While you're getting your thoughts together, I'm going to remind you that love you to share the content. Share the content on your social media platforms. And when you subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when I'm going live and we're going to have another conversation. And this week, y'all, I was able to do something that I'm seeing how it goes. That is, I got my YouTube handle. It's at Equip Institute. It's subject to change. Right now, it's at Equip Institute. So if you can't remember what to do, just type in youtube.com/@Equip Institute and you'll get right to the channel, and you'll see the content, the videos that we've had. You can go back and go over the information for yourself. So there's a great question in the chat. Is there, well, I'm going to go back to Anne Marie. She says, make a list of all the people I need to talk to with adding the why. That is a great one. That's really a great one. Here's another comment. Is there a method to identify the right tool for your needs? Absolutely, and we're going to get into that. Gwen says her takeaway and what she's going to do is schedule her 15 minutes of dump time. Ooh, that sounds a little strange. Brain dumping. Brain dumping. Schedule that time. Louise has a question, and by the way, we're going to get into a little protocol on questioning, but is it okay to do a brain dump for different projects? Absolutely. Do a brain dump for everything. Projects, routines, home, every part of your business, every part of your life. Just put it all down. Don't worry about just getting it out. Free your mind. Absolutely okay to do so. So we are at the end of tonight, and we've had a good time. We've had a good conversation. Gwen put another comment. Yes, brain dumping. Roy, glad to have you here this evening and would love to make sure that this is resonating with you. Walter, absolutely want to sew in. I don't want to leave anybody out. If you have a question, go ahead and share your question in the chat. And if you're on the replay crew, put a comment in, because I want to help you. I want to share. Again, I've been doing this, practicing these skills for many, 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 many years. And I absolutely want to share what I've learned through practicing. Yes, Anne Marie, your brain dump will make you accountable. Absolutely. It will make you accountable because you can no longer say, I forgot. It's right in your face. You are right there looking at it, and it'll remind you. It's almost like your calendar in some ways. It's going to work for you and not against you. So, with that, we are nearly at time this evening. Again, I'm going to encourage you to subscribe, share this, and share it with your whole social media team. Wherever you are, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever you use, share it so that the word gets out and other people know that there's valuable content that's being shared that is going to help them. Everyone who joins has something that you're using. I am talking about elevating it. I'm not talking about you've never done anything, because every adult has something that you're using. We can always get better. And that's what I want to have you have the opportunity to do at this community. And I shared it, and I want to come back to it. This community here on Equip Institute, whether you know it or not, but I'm going to share it with you now. I consider this community part of the Huddle community. And that is because the person who really helped me get going and jump out here was Walter Strong. He just sowed and sowed and sowed, and he continues to sow. And his community his show is The Huddle with Walter Strong. He does a show every Saturday morning at 11 o'clock, and he does a Wednesday midweek show, and it is phenomenal. This community, as we come together, I also want to encourage everyone, reach out, grab that content that he's sharing, because here's the secret. He talks about live streaming, but if you listen carefully, what he's teaching, you can apply anywhere. It doesn't have to be live streaming. I find myself applying the lessons that he's teaching in other ways. For example, overcoming camera shyness. If you do anything today, if you're living, you're on camera in Zoom. Remember I said Zoom, 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 Zoom. How many Zoom meetings did you have today? And if you're not good on camera, his content will help you get good on camera. So join that community. And then our other buddy, and Roy, I want to shout you out, because this week I used something that you taught in my system. I brain dumped it, and then I went back and organized it, and then I took action. And that is, I tipped my toe into using the YouTube community tab. And I did it because I was able to learn from the teaching that you gave. And I then took what you did and applied it in my life. So I thank you all. I appreciate you all for jumping in and sharing what you're doing. And I want to see you guys back here next Friday at 6:30 p.m. 6:30 p.m. on Friday. And I'm going to end with this, that Joshua says, sharing is caring. And this community, the extended Huddle community, cares about each other. Y'all have a great weekend. Have a great night. And do something with what you learned today. We'll see you here next Friday. And go back and watch 3 core components of your purposeful productivity system to catch up a little bit. Good night, everybody.